So I just picked up something new and I'm really excited to share it with you. It's the Amaran 60XS. So this is basically Amaran's fairly new, very small, very compact lighting solution for all you cinematographers or wedding videographers out there. So let's jump straight into it without kind of hesitating or messing about too much. So there is the back of the box, nothing special, very, very boring. I don't care, let's get straight into it because nobody buys this stuff to read the outside of the box. So let's get that off there. So very lovely, very, very cheap little packaging case, but still nonetheless it works better than having nothing. So it's definitely a nice wee thing. Now obviously if you go for the more expensive lights from mainly Aperture's collection like the 60X Lightstorm, you will get a carrying case, but it's slightly more than this light. But without further ado, let's open the case. Drop that down there. So you might notice on my finger, by the way, there is cling film. That's because I got a new tattoo and I don't want it to get dirty or fall off. It's already fallen off once, so I had to get it redone. But it basically, I'm sidetracking a wee bit. It says smile. So if you're taking a picture in the camera, you know, it's pretty cool, I guess. Smile, funky, weird, right up my street. So straight out of the box, we have the very, very small little light. Now that I actually cannot believe the size of it. For perspective, we have a Diet Coke can and it is more or less the same height. It is fucking tiny. So with most lights you have the cover on it. So very, very good if you're packing it or storing it. Now obviously it is very, very well built. You know, it's made of, I don't know actually what that is. Feels like a very good plastic or a very, very cheap metal, but nonetheless it feels durable. It feels like it will last a good kind of kicking about. So on the bottom we have what is obviously your standard mount to mount this camera, with two holes obviously for anti-slip or anti-twist pins, which is always a nice little touch. We also have the, well, it looks like a universal adapter, which is good, that's handy. So we can fire that, screw that on there, and that'll fit most lights. I dare say it should probably fit every light stand, but also on the top we have a little foam pad, which is brilliant. That means you're not going to scrape the bottom of the device. If you like keeping them very, very clean, I'll set that up here for the meantime. Also we have your typical, wow, that's nice and small. So this is your mini reflector, which is great for kind of making that light feel a bit more powerful and look a bit more powerful. So that's, let's go ahead and fire that on actually. Might as well. Whoops. And even with that on, the light is still tiny. On the side of the lighting system, we have a slot for the V-mount buckle, which I presume is, yes it is, okay, that's cool. So that attaches on there. You can fire in your MPF series batteries in there, with plugging this into the camera body, and that is also a locking port, which is brilliant. That means you're not going to accidentally unplug it from the system, and you can run the batteries off that. Now I have read online that it could probably last on 100% power, the two batteries, for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, which honestly is probably longer than you're ever going to need to use it for. Even with the likes of you wedding videographers out there, you know, chances are you're only going to light the well, the reception, like the likes of speeches and dances. Now obviously, depending on where you're from, weddings change. They're not always the same. I know over here we do things a little bit differently. Like it's not very common to have send-offs and stuff like that, whereas in America it's actually quite common. But I still think whenever you have that on full power for maybe an hour and then you dim it down to maybe 1%, so you just have that lighting effect, I think that is a brilliant piece of kit. I really do. So I was stuck between this and the Godox 30 and 60 buys, because I like the fact they were small. I like the fact they're portable and can be powered off batteries. It really does seem like a game changer, because there's nothing worse than having, you know, a light up on a stand and worrying about people tripping on it. Or not the stand, sorry, the cables. Stand too, but the cables primarily. You know, you don't want somebody knocking over your lights or, you know, suing you for injuries. But anyway, skipping that, moving on. So we have a fabric diffuser. Ooh, I did not know this came in the pack, so let's have a look. No doubt this thing will be very, very cheap. I can't imagine it. Oh yeah, it feels like one of them towels that you put in the water that grows from like a wee puck. But nonetheless, some diffusion is better than no diffusion. Yes, I mean, it's not the prettiest thing, but other than that, the good thing about this light is it comes fitted with a Bowen's mount. So it means that pretty much all the big kind of diffusion modifiers or filters or accessories are going to work with this camera. Because I know with the Godox series, you actually have to buy an adapter for it. So that's just one extra thing you have to buy, whereas this you don't. So on the back we've actually got a pretty cool little cooling system, and I'll be interested to see quite how loud this thing is. I would imagine it might be a wee bit louder just because it's so small, but I could be wrong. You know, Amaran's a brilliant company, and I think I might get proved wrong. So obviously your power cable, your power brick, also with the anti-pull-out, anti-knock cable thing, I don't know what you call it, but anyway. Nice long cable, that's good. So yeah, I mean, it's a pretty cool wee kit, especially if you've never really kind of delved into lights or don't really know where to begin. It's a quite affordable little option. But then it comes down to as well, is it right for what you need it for? And I mean, that's probably the hardest question to answer, because I know it's very common on YouTube to hit you with a well, it depends answer, and I don't like that answer, but I know sometimes it does apply. So why don't we get this fired up, we'll have a wee look at it and we'll see how it looks. How does it compare to the likes of an Amaran 100D? Is it really that noticeable? Because this is significantly smaller, and I mean crazy small compared to it. Before we compare the size to that, I think it's important to mention I don't really use lights for the likes of YouTube videos. I like to keep them spontaneous and easily set up. I don't have a lot of space to kind of set up lights in my room. So at the minute there is one small light up in the corner that's just bouncing off the roof. That's all I use. I don't sit and set them up unless I'm out in a shoot or I need to. I like to keep everything packed up and ready to go. But anyway, here is the Amaran 100D. There's a pretty stark difference between the two. I mean, holy shit, that is crazy. Look at the size difference in them. Look at that. Bloody hell. It's actually kind of mind-blowing how they can get 60 watts into this small little light. It really is. So I think the next order of business is to set it up and properly show you what this light can do and what makes it special. So let's go ahead in this very poorly lit room where we've just got one big light up above. Let's see how this light performs. So obviously I need to turn that off, and I will, but let's fire this bad boy on for the very first time. Here we go, on for the first time. There we are. So we have a red dial on the back which adjusts your power, which is great. So let's fire this thing full blast, because why not? Aha, you can click it for quick shortcuts. Intervals of 20, that's actually quite cool, that's handy. So let's see, whoa, overexposed, whoa, overexposed. We'll start off at 20%. Now we are at 4300 Kelvin. So without 20%, up to 40%. 60, 80, 100. Let's see how this looks straight now. I would never recommend this, okay? But we can put this light directly on me as if this was exactly how I was using it as a filming light. So let's set it over there. Let's, fuck me. Right, It's bright. It is a bright light. So let's go ahead and fire it down to 20%, which is a bit more feasible. It's very dramatic, it's very spotlighty because it is directly shining into my eyes. Okay, so we could obviously point this light up. You can bounce the light, and we'll probably bounce it a little bit up, so 100%. It can definitely work like this, but it's not the prettiest looking thing. So why don't we make it even brighter? Because why not? Let's go ahead and fire the reflector onto it, and let's see what kind of change this makes. This is going to be bright. Just a heads up, like. Holy fuck! Now this is a very unusual test because you don't normally test the light by shining it directly at your face. You're probably never going to use a reflector directly in somebody's face unless it's turned down really, really low. You know what, that's actually quite dramatic. Now I can't actually see it on the camera because you're the other side of the room, but in terms of what I see from my eyes, it's quite nice, it's quite ambient. Obviously I can't see the camera, I don't know how it looks in the camera, so I won't see that until post, but we'll go ahead and fire it up to 100 again. It's actually lighting the room brave and well, you know. Now obviously it's going to be more powerful than the likes of a standard light, and it's actually pretty good. The fan is actually very quiet too. Like I'm going to stand right up beside the fan and see if you can hear it. So let's tilt that over here and listen. It's very quiet. It is actually very, very quiet. I'm actually quite impressed by it, if I'm honest with you. Shrinky town. So 100% directly at me. It's probably still not nice. But 20%, I mean, it could be used, I guess. It does make it a little bit more diffused. Not great, but it's definitely diffused. I mean, on 20%, it definitely works. It's actually pretty cool, to be fair. That's actually mad. So they have an app called Sidus Link. So we're gonna go ahead and try it out. Now I have used it before, and my one critique of it is quite slow. You know, if you close it, you have to go through this kind of loading screen here. It is slow, but it's not bad. It's good what you can do on it. So obviously you have your color control, so you can do dimming curves, which means whenever you slide this, it's gonna go down less linear. So let's end off this video with should you buy this? I think if you're getting into the likes of wedding videography or any corporate stuff, or something where you prefer to travel light, I definitely think this is a good shout. In fact, anything that's outside of a studio, if you're not familiar with it and know there's going to be power, this really to me is a game changer, because having the ability to go up to 60 watts and go that bright, that's really more than you need, because chances are you're not going to be using one of these. You're going to be using either 2 or 3. But even if you're using one, this still works. Now obviously if I'd have set that up properly, because at the minute I can't see myself, so if it's set up and you took the time to do it, it could 100% work with this little light, and they're cheap. So if you like this video, please drop a like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Obviously I'm trying to grow. I have a very, very small channel, but I would love to make videos in kind of my own style and my own way, really, really casual, really laid back, and kind of just sometimes ditch the jargon and kind of allow more people to be able to see the content and enjoy it without having to know the industry. So please leave a wee comment and let me know what kind of video you want next. If you want any, if you want me to stop, tell me to stop. I'll quit YouTube. Cheers.